Oh man, I've said this too many times today, but I'm okay with it. We've had so much action out of both of these players in just one game. I'm so excited for Game 3 here. This is, of course, DreamHack Bucharest, guys. If you can't tell by this overlay, it should be very obvious, but just on the off chance you can't, hey, it's DreamHack Bucharest. This is, of course, Rifkin. I'm casting with Doom. You're watching Base Trade TV, and I hope you enjoy the show. But spawning here in the top left corner of Belshire, representing Neurosoft, we find once again our blue Protoss player, Welmu.
And his opponent in the southeastern portion of the map from Team Liquid, once again, the red Terran player, it is Taeja.
It's hard to judge how this game will go because, of course, we came in the middle of the series. We missed Game 1, so we have no idea what happened in that game. But Game 2, it wasn't even like a display of macro versus skill. That was an intense micro battle from start to finish because both players did not have a lot in the field.
Yeah, it was pretty stressful. I'm sure the anxiety built up, at some point in those games. But there's a lot of anxiety running on Welmu in this match because this is basically his tournament life on the line. He's already lost a show. He beat Bastard 2-0. And if he doesn't beat Taeja here, well, he's not going to give himself a chance to move farther in the series. If Show beats Bastard, well, then Welmu's just out. So at the very minimum, he needs to win this series to stay alive in the tournament.
And something critical to note here as well, Taeja... Oh, you know what? I just totally lost what I was going to say. This is the effect of casting for 9 hours straight. So never mind. At any rate, it's okay. That's
Keep it together, Rifkin.
My first flub of the day. I'll take it. But anyways, Probe going to come up here, scout what's going on. Bunker completes, nothing out of the ordinary. I'm still really embarrassed about starting a thought and then as I'm speaking, losing that thought. But anyways... fairly standard stuff coming out of Taeja. Sadly for Welmu, he's scouting and he's getting information, but what he's getting is very standard.
Yep, and that's probably a relief, if anything. I would say after that last match, how crazy it was. Putting yourself into those positions can be stressful, as we were saying earlier, but it also takes you out of your mindset, makes you adapt, and the potential for mistakes is much greater when you're kind of freestyling than it is when you're able to stick to the plan and really make a pinpointed attack at your opponent.
I really like that Taeja's doing the engineering bay block here.
That's an old school move, man.
It really is, but it's really effective because Protoss players expand a lot earlier now, especially in Heart of the Swarm than they did in Wings of Liberty. So while some time ago you wouldn't really see this too often, it's a lot more common now. But Mothership Core going to be rushed on out. Same with the the Warp Tech will not be delayed till 12 minutes this time, guys. He will get it out at an appropriate time.
And efficient adjustment there being made by Welmu. That Reaper is going to be denied right off the bat from the Mothership Core there. That did pop. And now as the Engineering Bay will be spotted out by Welmu, that'll certainly be the next focus of his attack angle.
Yep. Meanwhile, Command Center coming at home for Taeja. Again, standard is what standard does. In a TVP matchup, you have to get that quick expansion. You can't really one base versus Protoss effectively. But
trust me, I try. It doesn't work.
Well, the Reaper going to circumvent the Mothership Core. Might get a probe killer or two here. Does get a nice scout off. Sees that there's nothing too cheesy on the map. And will get out alive.
Escape?
Yeah, he'll see another day. Perhaps come in for another scout later on.
Kind of surprised the Mothership Core didn't get dropped down there to try to take it out, but it's okay. It's just a Reaper. Its effectiveness will decrease as the game goes on. So. Well,
he's been holding on to like 500 minerals for so long. I think it's definitely worth prioritizing getting that engineering bay down.
Yeah. And there we go. Nexus is going to get dropped. Warp Gate research about 3/4 of the way done here from Welmu. No gateways have been added on just yet, though, so it doesn't look like he's going to immediately take advantage of that Warp Gate. In fact, he's going to drop down a Robo in just a moment. Okay.
So there's two big options for this. The most likely one is that he'll get out really fast Colossus to deal with the bio of Taeja. The other one that's less likely but still incredibly effective is if you go for the double immortal Warp Prism drops. It's very difficult for a Terran player to respond to, and it does way too much damage.
Curious to see how it'll all play out. Reaper continuing to be cost-effective here, getting scouts off, confirming the fact that Nexus went down. Last thing Taeja wanted to see was some type of cancel.
Oh, but he will get caught in the middle of the field. Or maybe not. 10 health.
This badass Reaper, man.
I seen some stuff, man.
Fear the Reaper, man.
But I get 3 racks on the field. I kind of feel like Taeja's going to do a bit of a bio push and, you know, do that typical push on the natural, try and punish your opponent. With +1 timing, this is going to work out really nicely because even with that Mothership Core overcharge in the Nexus, he can walk right past it and go to the main.
Intriguing decision here from Welmu to go with that Forge for the ground armor level 1, trying to counteract that, you know, +1 attack weapons upgrade, perhaps. And getting this Observer out in the field, you know, I don't think we've seen an Observer in a game yet today, but he is going to try to get some scouting information off with that and establish, you know, what exactly is Taeja doing. Because looking at his vision right now, he really doesn't have a clear thought. He can assume a couple of things, but, you know, he just knows that he's got an expansion up. And with these 3 barracks here, Taeja, is he going to move across the map when Stim finishes, Rifkin? Do you think that's a possibility?
To be honest, I was expecting to move across the map when +1 was about to finish and hit with that timing that is so crisp and early, but with the delayed Marauders, I guess, yeah, he's going to have to wait until his actual tech for Stim or Combat Shields is complete. Little unfortunate because, as we see, like I said earlier, it's going to be early Colossus coming out of our Protoss player, and Welmu, oh man, you don't need Thermal Lance to crush small amounts of bio, but of course, if Taeja goes heavy on the Marauders, it could be a different story, because without Thermal Lance, Marauders actually take out Colossus very quickly. Welmu, though, with a very nicely positioned Observer, does have to be careful he doesn't move it too much. He doesn't want to give this away. He wants to keep an eye on the army of Taeja for as long as possible, but seasoned veterans like Taeja are very good at Observer spotting.
Yeah, and it just moved ever so slightly. Not sure if Taeja picked up on it.
His attention definitely trying to take a 3rd base, I think, for the time being. Gonna move out with his army now. This is a push that I feel should have happened a slightly earlier, but with the Stim time and the Combat Shields, it will be really effective, but Colossus is coming out. It's being chronoed. We got Photon Overcharge. I don't think Taeja is going to cause enough damage with this initial hit. He's going to have to fall back with this.
He's going to have to wait for the medevacs to come through, too. That's going to be very crucial here. You know, Taeja's doing a pretty good job at scouting out the lower portion of the map for, like, proxies and things like that. And with this 3rd base now being established, too, he's going to have just to try to establish a greater economy foothold in this game. But the composition is really going to start to play a factor here because he needs medevacs, and he's going to be forced in a position where he's going to have to make Vikings to contend against these Colossus. I mean, you said Marauders are good against them, but they're good in larger numbers and better positioning.
Only until Thermal Lance is researched. Once Thermal Lance is done, Marauders can't even touch the Colossus, especially with force fields in play. But one of the things is he's got this giant Bioforce. I think he's just going to try and go for like a multi-pronged drop. If he goes for a double drop, it's going to be a little bit risky because he doesn't know what Welmu has. Again, that lack of scouting really going to hurt him. Coming into this completely blind... Oh, no. Welmu, of course, with another well-placed Observer.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, that Colossus...
Thermal Lance isn't done yet. He can stim on top of this, but Guardian Shield going to be really great at decreasing the damage. Stalker's picked off pretty quick, though.
It looked like Taeja was trying to move his Marauders into the front there to try to contend against that Colossus, but, you know, as Thermal Lance is finishing up, Taeja's got to be thinking this is around the time where that's likely to be happening. You know, one Colossus is already on the field. It's just going to back up to the middle of the map, try to establish as much map control as he can. And really wants to see when that 3rd base is going to be dropped down for Welmu, and this Marine is going to have opportune timing to spot out exactly when that's occurring.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting is if you can prompt Welmu to defend the 3rd base, you could easily drop on the main, and that's the mobility of bio for you, but we see Welmu positioned nicely. I think he's ready for either the 3rd natural or the main. He's not going to split his forces without just cause.
I kind of feel like Protoss are okay when they're taking the 3rd base a little bit later than the Terran, because this, you know, whole situation that's arisen right here is Taeja trying to take down the 3rd base, and wait a second here, if he gets a good enough focus fire down on that 3rd, it could drop.
He's gonna be forced to pick up. He loses way too much bio for that, though. Picks off a pylon and a couple of probes, though, so not too bad. Meanwhile, this drop up around the natural never went off. He probably could have dropped in the main and picked off a couple good units, but now 3 Colossus on the field. It's gonna be very difficult for Taeja to push forward without Viking support.
Taeja had a small opportunity there to potentially take out like 6 Stalkers that were just pretty much meandering by themselves, but not going to take full advantage of them. Continue to make this 3rd base the point of contention for him in the game.
And again, the observers are spotting everything that happens. Welmu, with such great vision, is going to see everything coming a mile away. Even positioning one here on the left side of the map, looking for drops in case that's where they come from. And quite frankly, knowing Taeja, he would go for drops if he gets stuck with Colossus.
Oh, yeah. The Colossus count is growing. Templar Archives now being added down for Storm. Storm's so good against the Terran Bio Balls. especially in combo with the Colossus and a Zealot army. And
I like this. Getting a quick Ghost Academy, knowing that once he gets Vikings on the field, his opponent, as we see, has the Templar Archives on the way around the same timing. So Vikings, they kind of expire. They kill the Colossus, and your opponent doesn't remax on Colossus. They instead have Storms lying in wait. But by having Ghost out early, he can start potentially dealing with that. And even if the off chance was Welmu wasn't going for Storm, hey, EMPs take away shields. They're good against everything Protoss.
Absolutely. This is somewhat of an intriguing situation. Taeja scanned forward and no doubt try to check out the upgrades of his opponent. He probably thinks that he's even with him at this point at 1-1, but Welmu is pressing forward here, going to get +2 completed in just a moment. Or actually just starting +2, but just starting +3 ground armor, which is a very critical upgrade here when considering these big engagements that are about to go down on the field.
Yeah, armor on top of Guardian Shield, you make Marines basically nullify their damage against you. They hit you for like 2 or 3. Like, it's really negligible. But again, it's not the Marines that are going to be the big problem with this. It's going to be taking care of those Vikings.
Man, and I have definitely seen Taeja dismantle Colossus armies with Bile alone, but he's got a decent Viking count back at home, Rifkin. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 currently on the field. Continue to make 4 at a time. And yes, those ghosts are coming out. You know that Uber army of ghosts and Vikings.
Ghost Viking is a
salivating for it right now.
It is a disgusting endgame composition that some players are really unprepared for. One thing worth noting too, like, we're talking about like, yo, Taeja's got to make this happen because of course Doom and I are both Terran players at heart, but one thing that's really worth mentioning is if Welmu beats out Taeja and does advance instead of him, like, that just speaks so well about Welmu, or not well, again with the wordplay here, but it speaks so much more about Welmu. Of course, Welmu is a player who's, I think everyone recognizes that he's good, but he's not had that big breakout, and I really, DreamHack would be the perfect opportunity if he can make that magic happen, but that's a big if, because Taeja has got such a magnificent army, it's not exactly going to go down quickly.
That is quite true, Rifkin. Quite true indeed. Welmu took the first game off the series. This is a tied series for those of you who are just tuning in here. 1-1, a lot rides on this. Welmu needs to win it to at least have a chance at advancing to the next round. Taeja's going to scan forward. He's like stalking his prey at this point in the game.
It's all about finding positions. There's not a lot of storms or anything available. In fact, Storm even research, no, it's just mostly Archons for the time being. So actually these Vikings will be incredibly effective. The EMPs on the ground are going to destroy the Archons. Quite frankly, I think Taeja's got a brilliant composition to deal with what Welmu has.
These Vikings almost got hit by a clump of 3 Archons.
Of course, here come the Ghosts on the front lines, though. They're going to look for some EMPs if those Archons dare come forward again. I like this, though. Look how Taeja's spreading his Vikings. He doesn't want to get caught off guard by stacking his Vikings and losing them to an Archon Blast. Coming in from multiple angles here, forcing me to zoom out. We got Colossus going on top of the bio. A Time Warp does go down, but the Vikings cannot take out the Colossus fast enough. Actually, now they're starting to do the job. The bio is stutter-stepping behind this. The Zealots cannot keep up with the concussor shells of the Marauders, and Doom, Taeja has taken a magnificent victory in this fight, but here come the big Warpins. That Colossus is going to go down, and the Photon Overcharge will run out shortly.
That was the boldest engagement I've ever seen in my life. Photon Overcharge was down. He must have hit the most perfect EMPs to make that happen, and the stutter steps were absolutely brilliant. Welmu forced to pull probes. This is not looking good for him, Rifkin. I think his tournament life is going to end here in just a moment.
Good game, well played. If Welmu had Storms instead of Colossus, that could have been a completely different game, but really well played out of Taeja nonetheless, and of course Welmu to take him to a Game 3.
How did he do that? What, like, how did he take that engagement?
Dude, we got people in chat saying the exact same thing. How did he do that? That was just like an amazing spread coming in from all sides. It was ridiculous. Taeja is an amazing Terran player.